Good morning, everybody. I hope you had a great weekend and happy Easter. I hope that you were able to have a little break from school, a 4-day break if you were able to take it. And then if you needed a little more time to finish your work, I hope that helped you out too. We didn't have school yesterday, but I did leave it on the calendar here so that you can notice what days we have this week. So yesterday, we had no schoolwork. And then today, Tuesday the 14th, we have our morning work, our math for today, day 1 and 2, spelling city activities. We have one article to read about warm-blooded and cold-blooded animals, and then writing some information down in your book of knowledge and your read works. And then we have our interactive notebook, doing capitals, using capitalizing titles, And so if you were able to stop by, or your family was able to stop by this morning to get your school supplies, then you can go ahead and glue that right into your interactive notebook. If you haven't had a chance to stop at the school, remember that only 3rd grade can do that this week. We can stop by Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday from 9 a.m. to noon and pick up your supplies from your desk. I've put everything in a bag with your name on it. I also put a copy of this week's work packet, the whole thing. I've just printed it out just in case anybody has any trouble this week. And I would like to move to all Google Classroom learning. So hopefully we're going to work on that this week, and hopefully that will help. You won't have to print as much, and you won't have to scan anything to me. You'll be able to turn it right in on Google Classroom. So we'll talk about that at the end of this video. And then I will probably do a separate video just for mom and dad to help them help you navigate through Google Classroom. All right. And then after that, we're going to have our first lesson in Google Classroom with writing, and we're going to be doing informational writing. And you will recognize the lady that's going to be doing it. It's the Not So Wimpy teacher, the lady I buy all my stuff from. She is doing a 10-lesson writing lesson through Google Classroom. So I'm excited for you guys to get to use that and turn your things in that way. And then we have an Envision lesson. It should say 12.7. Oopsie, there's a typo there. Should be 12.7, more line plots and length. So you'll see that in your packet. Below that, this is all optional. If you haven't finished your IXL, everything's due by Sunday. So every single thing for fractions and pronouns is due by Sunday or Friday if you want to have everything done for the weekend. If you are finished, then these are all optional, and then reading and any of the websites that we have. I'd also encourage you to try to do some mystery science to get some science in there too. All right, let's go ahead and get started on our Tuesday work. So your first page shows all the things you're going to be working on. You can cross those off. Don't forget that we'll need this paper at the end of the week. I am going to try to scan it into Google Classroom, so you might be able to just mark it off right there. So that would be great too. And then that way it's all turned into me. All right, so today we're going to be doing page 119 in our morning work. So if you've picked up your books and your things from school, you won't be getting copies of it like this anymore. You can just turn to the pages in your book, which will be very nice. So the first part says, read the sentence and write quotation marks, the little quote marks, around poems or song titles. Underline books or movie titles. This is perfect because we're going to be talking about capitalizing titles this week in our grammar. So if it is a poem or a song, we put quotation marks around it. Quotation marks, if I was going to put something in quotation marks, I can put, it's a shift, and then you'll see the 2 little dots, and quotation marks, and then a shift with that one again. Book titles, we're going to be just underlining. So we would just underline a book or a movie. We're going to underline those titles. So after I read the book Matilda, I found out that it's also a movie. So we're looking for title. If it's a book or a movie, what do we do? Zari's uncle gave her a book called The Lorax for her birthday. So looking at this, is it a poem or a song, or is it a book or a movie? My classmates and I sang a tisket, a tasket in music class today. So if it's a poem or a song, we do the quotation marks. If it's a book or a movie, we underline it. Auntie Joyce loves Bed in Summer, a poem by Robert Louis Stevenson. So remember, book or our movie is underlined, poem or song title, quotation marks. All right, let's move down to math. Look at the table. Use it to compare the measurements. Write greater than, less than, or equal to in the circle. So we have a cup, a pint, a quart, and a gallon. Would 3 quarts, 3 of these, be greater than, less than, or equal to 3 of these? You'll write your symbol right here. Remember that the mouth is always open towards the biggest number. Like the alligator chooses the biggest piece. All right, number 6. 1 gallon is the same as 10 quarts. Or is it greater than, less than, or equal to? And then 5 cups, 5 of these, is it greater than, less than, or equal to 1 of these? Okay, the bottom. Look at the pictures, then answer the questions. This is the first United States flag, and this is the flag we have today. If the captions weren't true, captions are these parts right here. That's a caption, and that's a caption. When it's underneath a picture, it's called a caption. If the captions weren't there, would you know what these pictures are and how they're different? Tell why you think so. So if we hadn't seen these titles here, would you know what these two things were and how they're very different from each other? Or do you need the titles? Write a complete sentence on that one. All right, today we're going to be doing math for today, day 1 and day 2. We're on week 24. So in our text box here, we're going to be adding 396 plus 474. So we want to restack that. Remember that we want to restack that so that it's, whoopsie, goodness gracious. There we go. We want to be able to stack that and have them lined up with each other. We go back here, over. All right, so you're going to write your answer right underneath that line there. Remember, starting in the ones, carrying over, keep going over to the left. This one says that each shape is cut into 2 pieces. How many available pieces are there? And then how many inches long is the straw? So if we try to get a little bit closer, I'm going to try to zoom in here a little bit. So we're looking to go with a whole number and a fraction. So what would that number be if we broke that up into 4 pieces in between the 8 and the 9? I think that's an 8 and 9. All right. On our complete the related multiplication facts. 20 divided by 5 equals the same thing as 5 times what equals 20. So the answer to this problem is the answer to this problem. 18 divided by 9 equals something, and 9 times that something will equal 18. 36 divided by 4 equals something, and 4 times that something will equal 36. And that's for day 1. Day 2, round each number to the nearest 10 and then add. We need nearest 10. So you're looking at this 1 here. Is that enough to make this number go up or down? Is it going to go up to 710 or down to 700? Is this number going to make it go up to 110 or down to 100? Then add them together. Write greater than, less than, or equal to make the statement true. So this piece right here, 1 out of 6, is that the same size as 1 out of 3? Greater than, less than, or equal to. All right, down here, divide the square into sixths and label each sixth. So we have 2 things. First, we're going to divide, then we're going to label. we're going to break this box up into 6 pieces, and then you're going to write the fraction in each piece. And we can see that it's cut into 6, so you know that your bottom number, your denominator, is a 6. A group of 6 families attended a basketball game together. After the game, they went out to dinner. If there are 7 people in each family, how many people went to dinner? 6 groups of 7 family members each. So how many total people? All right, so that's it for day 1 and day 2. We'll do 3 and 4 tomorrow. Here's your spelling list. If you're on the regular spelling list, we're doing compound words this week. So you can do your 2 activities in Spelling City if you want to get those done today. And then here's your alternative spelling list if you're on the alternative list this week for list 25. All right, so this is your interactive notebook for grammar. So if you've already picked up your things, this can go in your grammar notebook, or when you do pick up your things, this can go in your grammar notebook. Capitalizing titles. When writing the titles of books, movies, songs, and magazines, certain words must always be capitalized. So here are the 3 things that we can remember. Always capitalize the first and the last words in a title. Always capitalize nouns, pronouns, adjectives, verbs, and adverbs in a title. So like article adjectives, a and the, we don't necessarily need to put those in there as capitals. Always capitalize other words in the title that are more than 4 letters long. So the word for, as in this is for you, F-O-R, we wouldn't need to capitalize that. That's only 3 letters. If it's more, then we want to capitalize it. So what you're going to do is cut these open, these little doors, these little windows, these little flaps, and you're going to write these words the right way, the correct way, capitalizing, where the wild things are. Now remember, the first word we always capitalize, and the last word we always capitalize. And if it has more than 3 letters, then we capitalize it as well. If it's a noun or an adverb or an adjective, we capitalize it. So where the wild things are, the very hungry caterpillar, island of the blue dolphins, Danny the champion of the world, sideways stories from Wayside School, the one and only Ivan. And I will probably on Thursday when we correct your math for today, we'll try to remember to go back over this and see if you've gotten the sentences down correctly. All right, so now we're on to our math for today, our Envision math lesson. So if you'll grab those pages out, and I will take us over to our video lesson. All right, let's get started. We're going to be doing more line plots and lengths.
How can you measure lengths and use line plots to show the data? Think about this question during the lesson. Julio is measuring some lengths of yarn. How can he use a ruler to measure the nearest ½ inch? The distance between each whole number on this ruler is 1 inch. Each red mark shows 1/2 inch. So you can think of each whole inch as 2 1/2 inches. Line up one end of the object with 0. The 5th 1/2 inch mark is closest to the right end of the yarn. So, to the nearest ½ inch, the yarn measures 5/2 inches. What is another way to write 5/2 inches? Select your answer.
All right, so if we just keep counting past the whole numbers, we're at 5/2. But if we took the whole numbers, 5/2 is just past this 2, and then between 2 and 3, would this be halfway? Would it be a 1/5 of the way? So we know it's not 5, so that can't be it. 5.5, because we don't have 5 as a whole number. 2.5 and 2 1/5. Well, we're not cutting these things up into fifths, so we know it's not 2 1/5, and it's past 1 2/5. So we know that it is 2.5 is another way to say it.
This is 2 whole inches and 1 1/2 inch. You can write this as 2 1/2 inches. Julio measured 9 other lengths of yarn. The lengths of all the yarn Julio measured are shown below. Drag dots onto the line plot to show the data.
All right, so our data shows 2.5, 3.5, 3, 3.5, 4, 3, 3, 3.5, 4, 3.5. So we're going to take a dot, and the first one says 2.5. And if I could cross that out, I would. And the next one says 3.5. The next one says 3. The next one says 3.5. The next one says 4. The next one says 3. The next one says 3. The next one says 3.5. Straighten that out just a little bit there. Okay. Okay. And then we have 4. And then 3.5 again. Just trying to straighten those out just a little bit. Okay. So then we're all finished right there. We can see the data shows that there is only 1 at 2.5. There are 3 at 3. So we have 1, 2, and 3. And there are 4 at 3.5, and there are 2 at 4.
Julio then recorded the data in a line plot.
Looks like
you
we
can
did it
use
right.
this line plot to see that the length that occurred most often was 3 1/2 inches. How do you know that the 3 1/2 inch length occurred most often?
So how do we know that? Well, we can count our dots on our line plot and see there are more there than there are in the other numbers.
The greatest number of dots is above the fraction 3 1/2 in the line plot. The length that occurred least often was 2 1/2 inches. How do you know that the 2 1/2 inch length occurred least often?
So we only saw 2 1/2 on that data sheet, only appearing one time.
The least number of dots is above the fraction 2 1/2 in the line plot. Now you know how you can measure lengths and use line plots to show the data.
Great job!
All right, let's go back to Convince Me. And that can be on your paper. Now, if you've already picked up your things from your desk, then you have your workbook. And so you can just do this in your workbook. We'll see what page we should be on. It says, Suppose
you measured a length of yarn that was about 4 1/2 inches. How would you need to change the line plot shown to record this length?
Okay, so it says we measured one that's 4.5 inches long. And if we have this already drawn, what do we need to do to our number line to include that 4.5? We would have to extend this, right? And include a 4 1/2 and put a dot above that, correct? Okay, let's go back here so that I can mark on my page. So that was on page 646 if you're working in your workbook, which would be exciting. And then on page 647, we're going to start doing our guided practice. Draw a line that is 1.5 inches long. So you're probably going to need to get a ruler and hold that ruler up here and measure a line that's 1.5 inches long. Number 2 says, if a line measures 3 1/4 inches long and you need to measure to the nearest 1/2 inch, what length would you record and why? So if we have one that's 3 1/4 inches long and you need to measure it to the nearest 1/2 inch, let's mark us some things here. So we've got 0, 1, 2, 3, and we've got a little spot here saying we need to go to the nearest half inch. We would need to have 3 and 1/2 inch. Have to be where we would go, because that would be the nearest half inch from 3. Measure the length of each of your fingers. List the measurements to the nearest half inch. So if you get a ruler and you're measuring your finger, and then measure the next finger and the next one and the next, and don't forget your thumb, then you'll write those numbers down here. Then you're going to make a line plot. And you're going to say how many numbers you have. So if you measured your finger and it was 3 inches for one of them, and one was 3.5, and one was 4 inches, and one was 4 1/4 inches, then you can mark your measurements here and be able to say how long each one was, how many. So maybe you have 2 fingers that are 2.5 inches long, so you would put 2 dots up above. Make a line plot to show the measurements of your fingers. So that's what we're doing right here. I just started writing it there. So this right here, what you would be doing is, we'll put this down here. Pull these, whoopsie. We'll pull these down here. Maybe we will pull them down there. Oh, goodness. All right. So this part up here would be where we're writing down that we had 2.5, and then we had a finger that was 3, and a finger that was 3 1/4, and a finger that was 3 3/4. And we had a finger that was 2, and we had a thumb that was 5, and then you're just going to list them all. And then down below, that's where you're going to be plotting the dots and writing the numbers for those. So that's how we're going to do that one. So on number 5, measure the lengths of the yarn at the right to the nearest half inch. So you're going to use your ruler to the nearest half inch. So if you measure one and it's not quite to the half inch, you're going to round it up to the closest half inch, or round it down to the closest half inch. Draw a line to represent another length of yarn. Measure your line to the nearest half inch. So they're going to let you just draw your own, measure it to the nearest half inch. You can include it here and write the measurement. And then on number 7, you're going to make a line plot and put a dot above the numbers for each one of these and the one you drew. So if you have any questions about that, let me know. And then also, hopefully that'll be enough to help Mom and Dad be able to help you as well. On number 8, it says measure the lengths of 10 classroom objects to the nearest half inch. Well, now your classroom is at home. So you get to pick 10 things and measure them to the nearest half inch. Choose objects that are between 1 inch and 6 inches, nothing too big. And then you'll record your measurements right here. You'll list all of your measurements. And then on grid paper, draw a line plot to show your data. We probably don't have grid paper handy, so just make your line and put your numbers on here, and then put a dot above the numbers that you did for your 10 objects. And this is all very similar to what they did here. They took information, they measured things, and then they put it into a line plot. It's the same thing they want you to do for 8 and 9. They go together. Number 10 says, Raymond weighed his 3 dogs. The oldest dog weighs 74 pounds. The other 2 dogs each weigh 34 pounds. How many more pounds does the oldest dog weigh than the other 2 dogs combined? So we have to put these 2 together and then subtract it from the other. How many more pounds does the oldest dog weigh than the other 2 dogs combined? So you're going to put something together and then subtract. Marcus arranged 16 pencils into an array. The array has 2 columns. How many rows are there? So we're back to the very beginning of the year when we did an array. How many rows? It says there are 2 columns. So that would mean in each row there are 2. How many rows would there be if you have 16? So we're doing a division problem. 16 divided by 2. Draw your array here, though. It says that in 12 and 13, you're going to use this table, Rico's paper chains. It says the number of paper chains. So if he has 3, they're 6.5 inches. 2 is 7.5 inches. There are 4 that are 8 inches each and 1 that is 8.5 inches each. How many more of the shortest paper chains? So looking here, that's the shortest one. How many more of the shortest paper chains does Rico have compared to the longest paper chain? So here's the shortest. Here's the longest. He has 3 of those and only 1 of these. So how many more are longer than this one? Or how many more does he have that are 6.5 than the one that's longer? Excuse me. Higher order thinking. Look at Rico's measurements. Can you tell if he measured the paper chains to the nearest 1/2 inch or to the nearest 1/4 of an inch? Explain. So we're looking here. Did he measure it to the nearest 1/2 inch or the nearest 1/4 inch? How do you know? It gives us a little clue here. So a little sentence would be a great answer. Jessica built a birdhouse. The 3 different sizes of nails she used are shown below. So these are the 3 different nails. Jessica used 4 of nail A, so 4 of these. We'll just put a little 4 here. 4 of those. And then 2 of the second of B. And then 3 of nail C. Measure each nail to the nearest 1/2 inch and then complete the line plot to show the size of the nail. So using your ruler again or a tape measure, measure these and then you're going to put a dot. But there are 4 of them that are A and 2 that are B and 3 that are C. So you will have 9 dots on your line plot. All right, so if you have any questions on those, let me know. We're going to do that same kind of work on our homework pages. So make sure you're practicing. These will be very helpful to you, especially as we end up the school year and then get ready for 4th grade. Those will be very important. So measure the length of each rectangle to the nearest 1/2 inch. You're going to write that down. Jamal drew 5 of the green rectangles, 3 of the orange rectangles, and 4 of the purple rectangles. How many dots or data points should be on the line plot? 5, 3, 4. So how many should be on there? Complete the line plot to show the data. So you're going to put your dots above there, how many there are. And then if you're using your workbook, then you'll see the color already. So that would be exciting. Japira measured the lengths of her books to the nearest 1/4 inch and listed their lengths. Make a line plot that displays the lengths of Japira's books. So we're going to make this kind of a thing right here. We're going to make a line plot and put these numbers in there. Go from the smallest number to the largest number and put a dot above each one. So you can cross them off when you're done using them, just so you don't forget. So after you do one, just cross it off. Eli has double the number of books that Japira has. How many books does Eli have? So you're going to figure out how many books Japira has and double it times 2 to find out how many Eli has. Number 6 says, what is the most common length of Japira's books? So looking here, which one happens the most often? Write that length here. And remember, you can pause anytime during the lesson so that you have time to work on it. You can go back and listen to each one that I've done just so that you can have a little help while you're doing these. Number 7 says, Peter bought 8 sets of paint. He gives half of his sets, what's half of 8, to his sister. Each set has 5 bottles. How many bottles does Peter's sister have? Write an equation and solve. Don't forget to write your equation and solve. And then number 8 says, Dan measures an object to the nearest 4th inch. He records the length as 4 1/4 inches. Jerry measures the same object to the nearest half inch. Could Dan and Jerry get the same measurement? Explain. So you're going to be drawing a picture. Dan measures an object to the nearest fourth inch. He records the length as 4 1/4 inches. Jerry measures the same object to the nearest half inch. Could Dan and Jerry get the same measurement? Explain. Robert measured the cars and trucks in his toy collection to the nearest half inch. Find the measurements of each type and then complete the line plot to show the data. So remember, there's 4 of these. So however long this is, you're going to be marking it 4 times on your line plot. There are 8 of these. So you're going to be putting 8 of however long this is. There'll be 8. 3 of the red trucks and 4 of the yellow trucks. So you'll have quite a bit of lines on there. So we have 4 plus 8 is 12, plus 4 more is 16, plus 3 is 19. So you should have 19 plot marks on your lengths, your line plot there. All right, guys. So I'm going to take you over to Google. So if you're in your email, you can see these little dots right up here, these 9 little dots. If you click on that, you can find Google Classroom. And if you can't find Google Classroom, you can always click or type it into your search window, type in Google Classroom. So you're going to open up Google Classroom, and it should have your name on there, and it'll invite you to our class. And this is our class. So it'll say, you'll want to say join. So when you hit join, you're going to open up your page, and here's our class code here if you do need it, but you should have an invitation on there. Actually, I'm going to switch my emails so that it's on the correct one, because we do need to be on our other email page to go to our Google Drive on that one. So just a moment. Did you see how many times it repeated my picture there? That was kind of crazy, wasn't it? All right, so Martinez Marbles. So you'll see assignments written here. Now, we don't need to do all of those assignments today because we're on Tuesday. All of our work is either in our workbook or in our packet or in our math book. So we don't really have any of those, but we do have a writing lesson today. So if you saw on our schedule, we have a writing assignment. So right here it says, Martinez Marvels posted a new assignment, Informational Writing Day 1. So you're going to choose that one, and that's the one that you're going to see. It says, watch Day 1 video from the Not So Wimpy Teacher and type your work. Remember to submit when you're finished answering. So what you're going to do is you're going to click on this, and you're going to see a video as soon as it loads here. You'll see a video that you can push play and listen to the Not So Wimpy Teacher talk about what informational report is going to be. So we're going to be writing a report about an so that should help you with your read works.
Hello there.
So
my name is Mrs. Sears.
You'll listen to that. You'll listen to the whole video. You can click this here to make it bigger so you can see more of it. When you're all the way done, make sure you go back to the smaller screen, and you're going to pick this page. And this is where you're going to be typing your answer. See where it says type here? So you'll type in your answer, and when you're all finished typing, you're just going to hit submit. And then that will send your answers. Oh, there's 2 of me. That will send your answers to me, and then I will be able to check you off for your writing day 1. It is worth 20 points. So when you get finished with that, you're all done with that. And tomorrow, when you do get to, you do have to do some titles. You'll just have that page here. You'll just click on that, and you'll see the page here, and you'll be able to type your answers right on the page. And when you're finished typing, then you just hit submit to submit your answers to me. All right. All right, guys, so that is it for today. If you have any questions, please email me and I will try to get back to you as fast as possible. And then again, hopefully you can have your parents come by. We only need one person to come by, pick up your bag. Everything's ready to go. It'll be an easy grab. And your name is on it. And so Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday of this week, you can pick up only third grade. Third grade's the only one being allowed to pick up their things right now because I asked Mrs. Oldenkamp if we could do that over a week ago before anybody else talked about it. So she had already told us that we could, but the other classes are going to have to wait at least another week. She's trying to work on that right now. So third grade can pick them up from Miss Decker's class or my class, and they are in the office. And I also put in a copy of this week's packet. So all of the pages are there so mom and dad don't have to print. I have all of your things from your desk in there. I did take out the money and I did throw away any papers that we don't need to have anymore. And then I put in some of your artwork that was hanging up in our classroom, and there's a little treat in there for you too. So let me know if you've picked up your bag. Send me a little email that says I got my bag picked up. That way I know, who's are left in the office so we can let parents know to come and pick those up. All right, guys, have a great Tuesday and good luck with your work. And I'm here for you if you need anything. And I will send another email with our read aloud for today from Wonder. All right, guys, have a great one. Thank you.